Postal here. So you may see that I've got a slightly new setup. It's not actually a new setup, unfortunately. This is actually my old setup. Hey, got Fleshmaster. However, I had moved it. So if anybody who hung out with me was fortunate enough or unfortunate enough to hang out with me on my
pilots,
computer
get ready for action. Let's go.
Last Saturday. Yeah, it didn't go quite well. So an update on that did everything under the sun to test all the components and found out that that the motherboard's no good. Yay! Which unfortunately means everything that I did on Saturday was for naught. Gone ahead and sent, or am sending the motherboard to ASUS to repair it. We'll see how that goes. So it might be a couple weeks, or it will be a couple weeks, before I am able to throw some rockets down. Worked about it for as good as I thought it could. Anyway, so my setup is I've moved my old computer over to the other side of the office, set it up for my son, and I'm now having to use it again because, you know, it's the only thing I've got. So what am I flying today? I am flying something. Now I'm getting a phone call. Really? That's how it always happens. I'm flying a P-82B. So yes, this plane is on sale right now. It's a quote-unquote rare plane, but I feel like they just had it on sale just recently. Oh, I am going to be in a lot of trouble here. Potentially. Especially if this is oh, it's not. Good. Oh, good. And thank goodness it's the Lavochkins that don't have any kind of altitude performance to speak of. So what are we dealing with here? We are in our P-82B, if I could finish my sentence. This is, well, it certainly looks like a P-51 slapped next to a P-51, and that's because it kinda sorta is. You've got a ridiculous amount of firepower, if you couldn't tell. There are 14 machine guns on this thing, holy cow. They are short-range Tier 7 machine guns. They are Tier 8 heavy fighters, so that can be kind of odd. But there's 14 of them, so, you know, who the hell really cares? See if I can't get this guy. Oh, I set his ass on fire, quite literally. Happens quite often in this plane. There we go. I was going in a straight line there because I saw that Yak-15 was coming back to get me. And I didn't want to deal with the Yak-15 coming back to get me. This is a very maneuverable heavy fighter. In fact, this is the most maneuverable, at least of the heavy fighters I have. Tier 8 heavy fighter. I think the F-82. But this has a lot going for it, actually a ton going for it. You've got 2 bombs, you've got 10 rockets, you have 14 machine guns. You are really, legitimately a powerhouse. And as such, double hello. BD-10 got, sometimes there's perks to being postal. One of those perks is people tend to focus on you quite a bit. But if you've got some friendlies or some bots that are around, it means you can also, you know, have those people that are focused on you get killed. It happened to the Yak-15 there. Was able to hit F7. That XP-75. I didn't even need to hit anything for him because there's a friendly already behind him. Let's see if I can get this Yak-15 again. Again, of course I can't outmaneuver him, but good God, I can put out some firepower, can't I? Let's go ahead and see if we can. No, that 1070 is going to be dead before I get there. That's okay. Pretty quick, isn't it? You can go over this way, because yeah, there's some bombers over there. go have some fun with some bombers. So, P-82. Not the best airspeed, not the best altitude performance. Great maneuverability. What does that sound like to you?
Complete control of the
To me, it sounds like a multi-role fighter. And the fact is, it plays very much like a heavy-hitting multi-role fighter. Don't think I'm going to be able to get this guy, but I'm going to try, because why not? This is where these short-range Tier 7 cannons fail me. Yep. His rear gunner's got better range than I do.
Victory is close.
Oh, knocked out my tail. What a jerk. Ah, well. Oh, they got a sector. Alright, cool. So let's go capture it back. Yeah, the Tier 8 machine guns that are on the F-82, although the F-82 has less of them, they have a longer range. Unfortunately, I used up almost all of my... Oh, crap. Him! I was lucky to not have this 57mm cannon smack the living bejesus out of me. It didn't, so I won. Death by 1,000 paper cuts. You could imagine 1,000 paper cuts, not the kind of death I would want.
A line of thunderstorms is approaching. We'll soon be unable to provide support. Do you copy? Over.
Crap. Just paying attention to that plane behind me. We're gonna wiggle, wiggle a little bit. I can actually outmaneuver this guy right here in front of me, which is hilarious. So I can outmaneuver Thunderbolts and FW-190s. Which I find awesome. Come on. Aim properly, Postal. There we go. Lost another sector, but that's okay.
You're on your own.
We're doing okay. I think we're gonna win this no matter what I do here. So I haven't even dropped my bombs. So let's just drop a couple bombs here, shall we? Might as well. If they don't get air supremacy, it's okay. Or as long as I don't crash into the dude. Oh, terrible. Absolutely terrible. Okay, we are gonna win. The garrison that I just captured is locked in long enough for them not to get air supremacy, right? So, first battle of the day, didn't really do a lot of ground damage, but you could see where this plane has the potential to just do an absolute gob-stopping amount of ground damage. Let's head back. Alright, so we were able to get 14 kills there. Okay amount of air damage, negligible amount of ground damage, but I really didn't do any ground damage. Actually, what did I do? I fired those 3 rockets, and that was even after, like, right after we captured the sector, and then dropped the 2 bombs at the end, and I'm pretty sure neither of them seemed to hit before the battle was over. But, that being said, if you want a plane like this without the ability to do as much ground damage, you'd want an F-82. The F-82 airframe technically is better. It can go a little bit faster and has a little bit better maneuverability. It has less guns and less rockets, but overall the airframe is better at air-to-air engagement. The P-82 here, I mean, just look at this thing. Like, it is ready to do some flipping damage. You've got 10 of the rockets, 5 on each side. You've got 2 500-pound bombs. So you can do, conceivably, a ton of ground damage. Keep in mind, I was top tier in this particular battle. And so that tends to lend a little bit more to air-to-air combat. When you're bottom tier and you're gonna, you know, you've got tier 9 planes that conceivably could put you in your place, that's when you're gonna play more like a multi-role, where you can, you know, play on the periphery, take time to determine which sector to go to, drop those bombs and rockets, and attack air defense aircraft, flip sectors. In this battle, I was kind of able to be king of the sky, right? Planes like a An F-82 can be a big pain in the butt. And an XP-58 can be a big pain in the butt. But a lot of the other heavies really aren't a big deal. Another plane that because something that you want to be mindful of for sure is Batwing, a BVP-210. They've got the airspeed to stick with you, just enough air damage to actually kill you. And so be mindful of those in that type of situation when you run into them. That being said, you've got 14 machine guns here. And so that just puts out a ridiculous amount of damage. You might look at here and say, okay, 868 damage. That's not too crazy for tier 8. But the fact of the matter is, these are 50 caliber machine guns. So it's not chunk where there's a gap in between the damage you're putting out. It's constant damage. And also keep in mind, this is 868 damage without gas-operated action or anything like that. This plane doesn't have the ability to get a equipment slot for the guns, which is a shame, but it'd also be overpowered. If you could imagine, gas-operated action works by increasing the rate of fire of your guns. So if you're increasing the rate of fire of one gun, that's nice. If you're increasing the rate of fire of 14 guns, that'd be ridiculous. Conceivably, you could easily have gotten this plane above 1,000, maybe even close to 1,200 damage per second if they allowed for forward-firing equipment. So I guess it's probably best that they don't have forward-firing equipment. This is another plane, as you might notice on my equipment setup, that I've been experimenting with the navigational radio equipment. The reason I did that is because I play this kind of like a hybrid multi-role heavy fighter. Again, I don't want to be seen as often as possible. I've had this on here for about 3 months now, and I don't need accuracy. When you've got 14 machine guns, you're gonna hit. Something's gonna hit and do damage, right? And so for me to be sneaky has actually turned out really, really well for me. That being said, I know it's still controversial. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's not seen as the best route to go. And so going with the sight is not going to be a bad thing. Getting your accuracy even more accurate isn't going to hurt anything. But you can see that I didn't really need any accuracy buffs on this particular battle. And I feel like I don't really need an accuracy buff in general, and that's why I've gone with the radio equipment. Your mileage may vary. As far as my airframe and engine components are concerned, I've gone ahead and gone with, instead of going with the polished skin, I've gone with the lightweight wing frame. Lightweight wing frame helps with the maneuverability and the roll maneuverability. This plane doesn't roll all that well, but the maneuverability in turns, it helps with that as well. I can get my guns on target a little bit quicker. And it keeps me in that middling range as far as maneuverability is concerned. I can outmaneuver XP-72s and all Thunderbolts. I can outmaneuver FW-190s. I can outmaneuver SU-9s and I-260s, ME-109TLs. So that type of plane I can outmaneuver. I can't outmaneuver Tempests and Seafangs. I can't outmaneuver J-21s or F-2Gs. So I know my place. I can outmaneuver every heavy fighter. And I can outmaneuver a handful of multi-rolls. As long as I know where I stand, I can use that to my advantage and catch somebody out who might not realize they're actually caught out. For the engine, I have gone all in on the speed. The gas turbine and the uprated engine feel it's very helpful, and on this plane I don't want to go all in on maneuverability. I actually tested that out, and you're just too sluggish to be effective. Going all out for maneuverability will get you down to like F2G levels, but then you might as well just take out an F2G. So I've balanced it out by still having a decent amount of airspeed, utilizing my altitude performance, which is better than multi-role fighters, and having that airspeed helps there. I've also gone ahead and used the aerodynamic pylons. This helps with the airspeed. It impacts negatively the bomb reload and rocket reload speed. But that being said, like, unlike some of the other like actual multi-rolls out there, this plane doesn't rely on the bombs and rockets. They're nice to have, I use them whenever I get the opportunity, but me having a faster reload on the bombs and rockets is not going to break or make this particular plane. Its flexibility makes and breaks this plane, and a plane like this can be difficult to use because you need to know when is the best time to when's the best time to do air-to-air combat, when's the best time to utilize your bombs and rockets, when's the best time to turn, when's the best time to boost. And if you've got that knowledge, then the P-82B can be a really, really fun plane. It's one of my favorites to play. It's not the easiest plane to play, though. So we'll leave it at that. It's a premium plane, so I can put any pilot in it that I want. This time I put my XF90 pilot, which is the same, if you had seen my XF90 video from a few days ago. Same pilot, same basic setup, actually, with the equipment, other than the outboard weapon doesn't have a slot like that on the XF90. I do have the radio equipment on the XF90 and have done quite well with that. As far as consumables are concerned, I've actually built this consumable based more on a multi-role setup, and I'll explain why in just a second. First aid package. It's important on a plane like this. It doesn't catch on fire very often, so having a fire extinguisher I don't really find is relevant. I have pneumatic control assist, and hear me out on this. Pneumatic control assist on a plane like this will actually allow me to outmaneuver something like an F2G or a Tempest, if it's a bot. And it can allow me to get out of a sticky situation. Do not use it. I do not use it when I'm going against a human in an F2G or even a bot in a BVP-210 or J7W1. It's just not going to be as effective in that situation. But it does allow me to maneuver and get my guns on target if I'm in some sort of fight against maybe a Key 93 or something like that. If I need to kill them quickly from behind, pneumatic control assist can be very helpful in that situation. I didn't need to use it in this particular battle. But I also wouldn't have needed to use anything that put my wings and tail back in. As far as the consumable for the engine is concerned, I've gone ahead and put engine cooling on here. I really don't find any of the other ones to be effective. The engine might get knocked out from time to time, but not enough for me to get worried about it. Improved mixture control just doesn't make sense in this particular situation. Engine cooling is the way to go, so I can get that extra 10 seconds worth of boost from time to time. Forward firing weapons, I just use universal ammo, and I highly recommend the improved fragmentation. If you're going to be keeping the bombs and the rockets on the plane, improved fragmentation is going to allow you to do more damage with those bombs and rockets, and so you might as well use it. Now, there can be an argument made to completely taking off the bombs and rockets. If you just want to solely focus on air damage, if I could actually... We are going to mount on here, right? Thank you. I'm too fast with my fingers. However, the difference that you're going to notice in the overall airspeed, in my opinion, is not enough to justify not having the bombs and rockets. So our overall airspeed, the cruise speed's 398, boost speed's 484. Putting the bombs and rockets on here is going to knock us down by a total of what, like 9 miles an hour. It's just not that big of a difference. It's not. There's some planes that I take. The P-38 actually is a prime example. Taking the rockets off the P-38J makes a huge difference on the overall airspeed. And taking the bombs off takes, it's a little bit more. I've been flying the P-38J with just the bombs recently because the airspeed difference is noticeable. It's palpable. And it's not on this plane. I've flown it without the bombs and rockets, and it's like, okay. I'd rather, on this plane, I'd rather have the bombs and rockets on there so that I've always got flexibility to take a sector if I need to. The fact of the matter is, a lot of times you're going to get into battles with friendly pilots or bot pilots that just don't seem to want to take a sector. You've killed everything in the sky, and you still can't take the sector because there's some ground targets that need to be taken out. This plane can do all that. I really enjoy the P-82, but it's not going to be for everybody. It's a heck of a lot of fun to fly if you're down for that kind of playstyle. So I'd love to hear, do you already have this plane? Is it something that you're looking to possibly getting now that they've got it on sale? If if somebody's asking me to recommend this as a plane that is a must-have, it's not. It's a fun plane. Don't get me wrong. I highly enjoy it, and it can be a very, very capable plane in the right pilot's hands. But if you were only going to be spending money or gold on one Tier 8 heavy fighter, especially if it was a Tier 8 American heavy fighter, I'd go for the XP-58. It's got a little bit more flexibility in that it's solely focused on air damage. It doesn't do any ground damage. You've got a pretty comparable rear gunner on that plane as well. And it's got heavy hitting 37mm cannons up front here. So you still get the cool dual engine layout, but your cannons are a lot heavier hitting. And you lose some flexibility when it comes to the ability to do ground damage. But the XP-58 has better altitude performance, has better airspeed. The guns do more damage. And so you don't have to focus on the ground, so you can be just kind of singularly focused. And so I typically recommend the XP-58 for most people if they're just going out and getting themselves one plane. That would be the plane to get. So yeah. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me in the chat down below or hop in my Discord. The link is in the description below. And otherwise, I hope you have a great day. And you'll have to put up with my background and possibly seeing my snake pop in every once in a while for at least the next 2 weeks. And we'll see. I'll try to get the PC build completed sometime by the end of June, hopefully. Fingers crossed. Have a good one, everybody. Bye.